Sorry about my background today as well. I'm moving moving house this weekend. Um, cool. So I think you've raised a really interesting point, which is that it can be quite tough to track severity, frequency, and like counts of things all in one. And I think you're doing the right thing by using health measurements. But I wonder if we can like level up what you're tracking there, or just like consolidate what you're tracking there to kind of give you all of the insights that you're looking for. Um, so what I think made sense to me was to um, essentially track or use the features health measurements, symptoms, mood, and other factors. And symptoms and mood you might not need to use once we look at health measurements, but you might get some additional benefits from also tracking symptoms and mood. So we'll talk through that, but let's start with health measurements. So in the health measurement section, I think this should I think this should cover everything you want. So we've got mood swing severity with a score of 1 to 10. Maybe that could be 0 to 10, and 0 would be like none. But this might give you kind of more flexibility in how you track severity. And it'll also let you obviously timestamp kind of when these things happened. I think you pointed out there's a limitation because timestamps are like a moment in time, not a duration. And so we'll look at duration next as well. But I do wonder if this might just be a good option for kind of viewing the like changes in severity throughout the day. And you can see here as well, we could say that, severity was lower at one time and then maybe it changed suddenly within a minute, and then maybe, the next entry was not for a few hours. I think what you could do is if you're finding that a mood swing only lasts for a minute, it could be that, let's change this to 947. It could be that you show these changes by minute here if you want to. Like, I think that's probably overkill, but if you want to represent the fact that your mood swings became really intense or really severe over a short period of time, you could log timestamps where you've got at 9:45 it was a 1, at 9:46 it was a 6, and then by 9:47 it was back down to a 1 again. This obviously assumes there's maybe a baseline of 1, and I think there are still issues because your average here is still going to be kind of based on all of these readings. And so I do think that you're right, there are some issues with kind of just tracking severity this way. But perhaps it's useful to kind of keep tracking severity with this 1 to 10 or 0 to 10 scale, just so you have some kind of reference about how much it's changing and how frequently that's maybe changing as well. We'll have a look behind the scenes at how I've set these up as well in a second. In terms of mood swing duration, I think that's the other thing that you rightly kind of pointed out is quite important. I set this up as being mood swing duration in minutes. And so, I've got, here it lasted for 1 minute, here it lasted for 4 minutes, here it lasted for 7 minutes. And so maybe you could just track mood swing duration this way and view a total number of minutes per day and watch how that changes, and then also get correlations with kind of what increases the number of minutes and what decreases the number of minutes. That feels like it could be quite helpful. And so just tracking duration that way might be a solution. That also saves you maybe having to make so many entries here to log kind of it changing within a minute or two, because that seems like it could be a lot of work. Tracking duration as well as severity might just kind of be the catch-all solution to that, where you can see what impacts duration separately to what impacts severity. And then in case you wanted just a count of the number of your mood swings each day, to some extent, that's not being captured by these other two, because sure, you could count up all of the mood swing severity entries or each of the mood swing duration entries, but you're not going to see insights based on the number of mood swings if you just track with these two. So it crossed my mind that mood swing frequency could be helpful too. This could just be it's a 1 when it happens, and then you don't enter anything else, and it just means you've got a count of all of the times a mood swing occurs during the day, regardless of frequency or severity, so that you can see a total count and a total daily count for that score going up or down over time. And then you'll also be able to see, are there factors that have an impact on, this count going up or down as well. So I set all of this up just using the add edit screens. Severity is just the average, no decimals. I kind of just use the unit of measurement of 1 to 10. like I said, maybe that could be 0 to 10 if you want to track when it's 0, but that's up to you. Mood swing duration, I've just put in mins and said total because we want to see the total number of minutes. And then frequency, I've just said count. You could maybe even say like, you could even say here like, 0 equals no, and like 1 equals yes. Insofar as, obviously if you're like tracking lots of things, it can be helpful to like remind yourself what you're tracking here. But yeah, that might be overkill as well. So maybe just a count, did it happen, didn't happen is enough. I think that should cover most of what you've requested. And with health measurements, you can look in here at your different, sorry, this keeps cutting out, at how factors impact your different health measurements. So, I've got triggers instead of causes, but I can select causes, I can select, one of my mood swing health measurements, and then I can see how those two things correlate. And that feels like it should give you, hopefully, the insights you're looking for. Obviously, if you're a free member, there are other ways to do that. So let me know if you have a subscription or not, and maybe I can help you out with that as well if that's helpful. So beyond that, I think that there are some benefits to also tracking mood swings in the symptoms section. And I think maybe the best way to streamline this would just be to track it as your like daily average. So you're right, like it's not very helpful just to use the time blocks here because your mood swings will change multiple times within one of those mood blocks. And so I'd say you could just keep track of the overall daily average. Maybe even at the end of the day, you could look here at, what was my average mood severity score over the day? Was it low, high, medium, none? And then like pick your count here based on that. And I think the benefit with this is that like you'll obviously get some more reporting. So within the timeline, you can look at mood swing daily average. I obviously haven't logged any data because it's just an example, but you'd be able to look at all the days where you had really high severity, low severity, see if there are patterns there, and you can only do that with mood and symptoms right now. So if you did want to see just like changes in these symptoms month by month, day by day, or even like over the course of a year, it might be helpful to just have an average symptom severity score tracked in the symptoms section. And then mood, I think, is probably the thing you need least. I think you could track changes in mood swings here, similar to how we were like tracking severity in the health measurement section. But I think that it doesn't kind of cover the same basis. It means you're using an extra section. There aren't tons of benefits. The one thing I'd say is that it's maybe handy to have a count of like, how often you felt angry versus great versus lonely within your mood report. So if it's helpful for you to, for example, like share, your most common feelings during mood swings, or just your most common emotions overall, like that can be one reason to use this section, because it will collate every time that you tap angry, tap great, and then you can view in the mood reports and the trends tab. You'll be able to, let's have a look, how's my mood? In here, you'll be able to read, how often over the kind of past 30 days you felt different emotions. So that's helpful for you or for, your medical team. That might be one reason to use moods. But again, I don't know that it's super helpful. Maybe if there are specific like emotions that you feel, or like problematic emotions that you specifically want help with. For example, that could be like, I struggle with like mood swings as well related to my ADHD. And for me, I kind of like melt down and get quite angry, not necessarily outwardly, but I feel that inside. And so, in theory, if there's a specific emotion you want to understand more, you could almost also track that as a custom health measurement, where maybe it's like internal anger. This could be like severity, 0 to 10, 0 to 19. And sorry, some of these are bad icons. And then, if you've got a specific emotion you want to track, that I can do that here, and I can say that, maybe this morning it was a 5. And later today, it went up to a 9. Hopefully that doesn't happen. And then in the afternoon, came back down again to a 1. And so this might give you some more specific tools to track specific emotions. But again, that's maybe contingent on whether there are certain emotions you want to understand more about versus just your overall mood. So yeah, I'd say that I've obviously covered a lot of bases. I think the main things that will be helpful based on your email are probably just going to be using these 3 health measurements of severity, duration, and frequency. Maybe symptoms if you think it could be helpful to have some of those calendar-based insights as well. But really, you should be able to do everything just with the health measurement section, and then obviously factors as well.